Let's go to 1 Samuel 3 verse 15. Let's go step by step.
1 Samuel chapter 3 verse 15. Samuel lay until morning, and then he opened the doors of the house of the Lord. And Samuel was afraid to tell the vision to Eli.
Samuel feared to tell Eli the word of the Lord, the vision. The vision or the word of the Lord? Yet please show me what vision that he had. Because is there a vision that his eyes have seen, or are there words that his ears have heard? Centuries later, we are at an advantage, a greater advantage than Samuel, because we actually know what happened in the spiritual realm. We know that the Lord came in person, stood next to Samuel and spoke to him. But yet Samuel did not have that advantage. Yet Samuel just heard the words of someone that was like Eli, and then the Bible tells us Samuel was afraid to show Eli the vision. Yet where was the vision? Because what is actually happening is Samuel discovering the post of a watchman. And the fact that we see that Samuel was awake until morning is defining to us the post of him functioning as a watchman.
Habakkuk 2 verse 1. I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me and what answer I am to give to his complaint.
I will look to see what he is going to say. I don't know if this man of God knows English or not. Maybe he has his grammar wrong. Maybe he's not using the right organ. He will stand at his post to watch, to see words that are said. And yet it is him seeing. In the realm of the Spirit, when words come to you from God, light comes to you. And when word comes to you, the ability to see comes to you. The ability to see what has been spoken. So if you then further go on to read that none of the words that Samuel spoke fell to the ground, it was because he has the ability to see what is spoken. Another unique aspect in this visitation that Samuel has is Samuel begins to have his visitation of God while he is at service to the house of God. So it was in service to a representative of God that he begins to hear God. It was in service to the judge of Israel, to a person who was a steward of the house of God, that he begins to hear God. So if you are a part of a prophetic house and you tell me you do not hear God, maybe ask yourself, are you in service? Because if you're not serving, you have consciously disconnected. I've had the intelligence to understand this is not to simply give me the opportunity to serve. This is to make sure that I have the access to a grace that I did not have previously. Because if Samuel was not found serving Eli, God would not have visited him. So someone can come to a prophetic house, begin to have visions, begin to have dreams, begin to have a lot of this, and then they think they have arrived. Yet not knowing that was not a grace that they functioned by, that was a grace that was upon the house. And the moment they begin to disconnect, the moment that they distance their hands from serving, is the moment the grace to also perceive, the grace to see also disconnects. Because as much as a mantle can be thrown on Elisha cannot function as a prophet. People make this foolish assumption that they think if a man of God lays his hands and the anointing comes on me, that's it. No. That anointing requires a character. That anointing requires a personality for it to flow by. So while you are busy getting anointing, I would rather spend more time following him to see how does he work, what does he do, how does he get his anointing to flow, how is this, and I would be busy looking for the opportunities to serve. With the principal understanding, this is an aspect in which grace flows by. If a man of God gives them an opportunity to serve, they think this man of God is using me. And yet that's a lie by the enemy. What connected Samuel to the house of God, and what connected Samuel to his visitation with God, and what aligned Samuel to his calling of a prophet was serving a man. Do you know that when a king was looking for a prophet in a nation, the candidate they could find for a prophet to inquire of God was a man who served the prophet? The king is asking, is there a prophet around that we can inquire of God, that we can ask God for? Because we really need to hear God. And they can say, there is a man and he served a prophet. Not there is a prophet who prophesies. There is a man who has served a prophet. Kingdom understands this principle. Orphans don't.
2 Kings chapter 3 verses 9. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who poured water on the hands of Elijah.
Elijah would be there, and Elisha would be ready with a pot of water. But do you know the kind of things what was the state of service offered by Elisha? Do you know the way in which Elisha served Elijah? Did they live in two separate houses? Did Elisha serve Elijah on Sunday? Was it the weekend? Or was it, okay, this Sunday I'm serving Elisha, next Sunday I'm going to another church? Because there is something that this man did that stood out to a nation. There are other businesses that Elijah had to take care of, and when he would come, his son would be there and he would wash his hands. Because he kind of understood what it meant to follow. Because he knew the only way I can access this mantle is I need to know the details of this mantle. That though I am carrying this mantle carries a DNA that I do not have. And in order for me to fully walk in that mantle, the DNA of the mantle I need to know. The life that has hosted this mantle, I require to know. I require to know the lifestyle required to successfully host a mantle. So you can have a man of God lay his hands on you. You can have the anointing come. Powerfully it will come. And an anointing would be in your system testing you to see if you have the DNA to host it. And if it finds that you are a vessel that is unworthy, guess what happens? Because what makes us think that we can get any prophet to lay our hands on us and we fall and we can continue living in a fashion whatever we want, we can live in ignorance, and yet we expect that anointing to manifest. Yet people like Elisha, people like Samuel understood this is a lifestyle. Serving is a lifestyle. The house of prophets was a lifestyle. What it meant to be a part of the house of prophets, what it meant to be a part of the house of God, was it meant saying bye to Hannah and Elkanah. It meant saying bye to your house, because you are training yourself in order for that mantle to fit you, in order for the mantle to be completely a part of who you are.
1 Kings 19 to 21, yes. So Elijah went from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen, and he himself was driving the 12th pair. Elijah went up to him and threw his cloak around him. Elisha then left his oxen and ran after Elijah. Let me kiss my father and mother goodbye, he said, and then I will come to you. Go back, Elijah replied. What have I done to you? 21. So Elisha left him and went back. He took his yoke of oxen and slaughtered them. He burned the plowing equipment to cook the meat and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he set out to follow Elijah and became his servant.
He received the mantle and he became the servant of the Lord, right? Can someone read verse 21, the end of it in KJV? You will find the ministry of Elijah.
In KJV version it says, "And he returned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slew them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him."
So he ministers to God, right? Mighty prophet of God who did more acts than Elisha starts his ministry, receives the mantle and starts his ministry. Who does he minister to? And how does he minister? He is there to make sure that this man of God has no needs. That is what ministering means. Ministering means fulfilling the needs. To minister is to fulfill the need. It is amazing how much people can disqualify themselves from the grace of God available in a church just by thinking that they can come Sunday after Sunday and just hear a sermon and go off and think they have fully tapped into the grace that is available for them. Yet, they have not even tapped into an inkling of it because hands were not involved in service. How much access you can have to Christ in a church, how much access you have to the head of a church will be dependent on your involvement as the body of the church. Because you can have the joints be knit together, supplying each other, and you can have the head supplying the needs of the body, or you can be amputated, saying, because the blood doesn't flow to you, and people can think, let me just come week after week. So when you find a person connected to a body who is able to access a grace that you've not had access to, or if you think that person has a greater favor, when you investigate it, you will find out that their hands are involved in service and you're not. Their hands are plugged in and you're not. And it's remarkable because Elijah comes, throws the mantle, and he just passes by. That itself is a warning. Elijah throws the mantle and says, come be part of the house of the prophets. You have other brothers over here. It's a nice family, come. And yet, who had to pursue who? But yet, there is a requirement of him to pursue without Elisha saying follow. And yet, biblically, this is how the prophetic grace was made accessible. Biblically, this is how the lineage of an anointing, the mantle, was made accessible. Please, church, understand this. I've had to learn this quickly. God will not do things for you. You position yourself that if you require and you desire a mandate, you desire a mantle, you desire to know purpose, then you understand that there is a cost associated with it. And the cost is just easy. It's just serving Jesus. And serving Jesus will be ministering to the needs of Elijah. I want to make sure that we understand this, because as we grow as a church, if you find that there is someone else in a church that has more grace, that is able to access more grace, and you're not, it is important that we investigate why. Because I can be a son of my father, and there are other sons that can do a better job than me in their ability to access grace from my man of God. And that's not a limitation I can brag about. That's a limitation I have to eliminate. And you will find many times through history, even through the Bible, that those who have diligently learned to serve the house of God by serving the man of God in that house are those who qualify themselves to be the voice of God in the house of God. And that is exactly the way Samuel was led. Don't ask your man of God how to serve. Don't ask your man of God, how can I serve? Because if you do that, you're a servant. You're not a son, you're not a daughter. Find ways to serve. Find ways where there is a need and you're the first response to solve the need. Find ways where the man of God can just focus on just ministering to God and you can serve his needs. By that, you will get the opportunity to be Joshua while Moses is beholding God. Because if you do end up asking a man of God how to serve, you are just unnecessarily exposing yourself. And you will have Elijah just say, what do I have to do with you? Go ahead. Find a way where you can be an extension of the house of God. Because that is how you partake of the grace of God. Because that is the manner in which, while you are serving, you take a nap, and that nap turns into Samuel.